What would it look like if every educator had the tools to meet students where they are, with trauma-responsive compassion and a commitment to meeting youth where they are? We've spent the past several years answering that question through the Positive School Discipline Institute. PSDI equips schools and community organization teams with the mindset, methods, and support to transform how discipline works so that together we can end the school-to-prison pipeline. Meet the educators and community leaders who've walked this journey and have seen the difference firsthand.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Robinson, and I work for Inner Beauty. We are a mentoring agency, at least that's where our roots are, but we offer many services. Our boss likes to call it a full service salon, particularly working with people coming from hard places. And our job is to offer mentoring and life coaching services.
I'm Crystal Hines. I'm the founder and CEO of the Inner Beauty program here in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we work with young ladies who are ages 6 to 18 on different levels of life for character building, life skills, education, and opportunities and experiences.
We are Step Ahead Academy, and our school is one of the alternative schools in Indianapolis Public Schools. And I have been the proud principal here at Step Ahead for, I believe, 7 years now. This is year 30 of in education. All of my education years have been with Indianapolis Public Schools as well.
Well, I have been with Step Ahead Academy for probably 10 years. And within IPS, Miss Craig hired me at Harshman like 25 years ago. So if that says anything, I'm excited to be part of, the trauma-informed care training. And we're over here at Step Ahead Academy. We have like a little corner of the world, and just looking forward to it.
Hi, I'm Christina Lear. I was formerly the principal at Indianapolis Metropolitan High School for the last 7 years, and I currently work as a strategic initiatives advisor for Skybound Education. That in the 2011 to 2014 era, the school was suspending between 20 and 25 students per year. We had already started working on that before we began working with PSDI, but we still had a long way to go with our suspensions. We were suspending over 200 students a year when we began the program. After we engaged in PSDI and learned some new strategies and mindsets and really took on a whole school transformation, we were able to cut our suspensions in half and essentially stop using expulsion. We had fewer than 5 expulsions every year after we began PSDI.
So our agency is different. We're a different type of provider here with the Positive School Discipline Institute. We are actually an alternative to suspension and expulsion. So we are intercepting the children who the schools are putting out essentially. And so we're providing them a safe space to still engage in their learning and still get the social aspect of being in school without actually being in an overwhelming building.
I would say that on my journey prior to this training, I was definitely the punitive principal. And Ms. Dubois can attest to that because we've been together for quite some time, but I was definitely you're out of here, and it was definitely not just one, but it was 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. So definitely the answer for me was suspension. At the time this training became available to us, we were also just realigning our thought process as a school district because of our large numbers of disproportionality. And so with that, we were able to we had the opportunity to attend PSDI. And I will tell you, once I was GEM score lettered. And once I left that training, I really did. We all, left that training just inspired. That began our journey. So before, I would say we were definitely in the 90 percentile for discipline and for suspensions and expulsions. However, by the end of our first year of training and implementation, it was significantly lower in the 60-70 percentile.
So we're looking at how trauma influences behavior and our responses to that behavior. And so being more trauma responsive gives us an opportunity to make sure that we're not disciplining youth based off of their behaviors and their actions, but more so meeting their basic needs and figuring out what it is that they need to have. Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Did they not sleep enough? Do they need some positive reassurance? Do they need some validation? Those types of things are more helpful in the work that we do. And so we want to make sure that we implement those strategies to take away from the thought that we've just got bad kids within our agency. The way that this program has specifically helped is to provide us with more tools for our toolbox. We are constantly looking for ways that help to meet the needs of the children that we work with. We're always looking for things that are new and creative, but also still have an old school touch to them. And so we want to make sure that with whatever we implement, it's going to be completely relevant to the population of children that we serve, and that it is something that the staff can actually operate under. And this is a perfect program for that.
We definitely follow the book, the Trauma Informed School. I mean, that's like our reference guide. We follow those suggestions and steps. We watched The Paper Tigers. We've watched it a few times as a staff, and now we kind of just summarize. But it's always good to just sit down and watch it together, have some popcorn, talk about the different students in the actual documentary. We were able to create an in-school suspension room this year. We also have like a calming room if a student needs a complete reset out of the classroom, but we have reset areas in each classroom.
Even in the quote unquote in-school suspension room, it's the reset room. And even we've trained our behavior adjustment facilitator to go through certain questions. What are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? Are you doing that? What are you going to do about it? So we still want to have that student feel empowered, even though this is a quote unquote in-school suspension piece. And there are also pieces that our behavior adjustment facilitator kind of works through with our students with think sheets and trying to restore those relationships with that teacher, with those students.
So it's tough to see students being excluded from school. That's not why we get into this work. But you have to have an alternative, right? You have to have something that will teach students the skills that they need and ensure that they are held accountable for their behavior, because that's part of being in the world and being ready for employment. And so our teachers were really excited to kind of learn a new way of doing things. We'd already been sort of dabbling in these efforts, and PSDI really helped us bring together a lot of different things like positive behavior interventions and supports, and restorative practices, and mental health systems, and really kind of think about it as one cohesive school transformation. So they were excited about it. We also did a lot of training, right? I think that's part of embracing anything new, is understanding it, understanding the why, making sure that you have the skills and the tools that you need if you're being asked to do something new. I think that through PSDI, we explored a lot of ways to teach behaviors and to restore relationships. And so that can be really helpful in that students see that you want what is best for them, and you don't want to kick them out of school. You want them to stay in school, and you want to try to find a solution together. I think that's a really powerful shift when students understand your goal is not just to punish them or to take something away from them, but really to add additional supports. And I think for teachers too, that idea of we are trying to support them in their work and help them to feel valued and respected in the classroom. That's something that a lot of teachers are missing. I will also say it's a lot of work, right? And so sometimes it changes the relationship in that you have to kind of like stay in the struggle together. You can't just go to a quick and easy solution like send a kid out of the classroom or expel a student. You have to stay in sort of the messy middle and, come together and talk about hard things and apologize when you make mistakes. Like, those are hard things to do. And so it shifts your relationship in that you have to do hard things together, and that brings you closer, even though it can be challenging.
Yeah, I do most of the onboarding and the teaching and the training of our staff. And one of the things I often tell them is that everybody comes in here with a story, but if you don't have tools in your toolbox, you won't be successful. And so you will learn really quickly the importance of understanding trauma, and especially being trauma responsive, because we get it every day. These kids are coming in here hurting. They need more than what we can offer or what the world can offer them. And so we try to meet those needs. I know my president who spoke earlier talked about meeting those basic needs. And that's one of the tools in our toolbox. HALT, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? That's almost always one of the primary issues. And then we start to kind of build on that. We meet those basic needs, and then we move on to bigger things that the kids might be experiencing. And we can only do that through this PSDI training and putting those things, those tools that we're learning in the toolbox so that the kids and the staff feel a little bit more empowered. I think the most important thing is implementing the understanding of trauma and how trauma shows up for our clients. All of the tools that we've been given are great, but if I had to say what would be most impactful, absolutely understanding trauma and understanding the kids that we're serving, the hard places that they're coming from. Some of us identify with it because it was our own experiences. So also being able to channel that and be able to say, hey, I've been through that, or hey, I need to tag in someone else because this is too big for me. And we have these conversations all the time in our agency as a result of PSDI and the tools that they have given us.
So I think that overall, with the climate of our country, things how they've happened since COVID, everybody's kind of on edge. Everybody is trying to find their way back. And so being able to, again, provide staff with what they need to have things at their fingertips that they can use to better reach our kids, to have those, lasting relationships, to have just the opportunity to be a better role model and a better leader, I think is very empowering to the staff. And so I feel like this is a nice bridge to that, to give them the things that they need to feel like, okay, I can do this, I can go on, I can teach another day.
We teach brain basics to our students, and we also teach them about stress and ways to handle different situations. And, we use the stress indicator that's in the book, but I have there's a small version of it here to show you, but we have these around on the student desks, and there's poster size around the building so that the stress indicator can become like a common language among students and staff. It's easier to ask a student, where are you at on this indicator? Especially if they're upset in the red, they can point to it.
I also want to kind of go back to our journey as well. Just talking about when we first initially came to the training. Again, I told you I was the punitive principal, right? And so, because that was my training, be punitive. So I do appreciate the fact that I was able to attend the training with my admin staff. At my first training, I think I had my counselor, my behavior specialist, Ms. Dubois, my social worker was at our first initial training. So those are the people who are like my main support team. And they held me accountable. For one, once we created our plan, they held me accountable. And so when I wanted to automatically go to that, right? This kid did this. This is what it says I'm getting ready to do. They getting ready to get this. And my team would come in and say, Ms. Denman, well, now we need to, think about, are we using what we said we were going to do in our plan? So that was very helpful to hold me accountable and to be able to change my thought process and my thinking was the team that we chose to train first. And then my team became the trainer, right? So they came back and they were able to build that capacity within the staff. And I pretty much, when we did this particular training in the building, every person had to participate. Even my secretaries had to participate in the training. So it was because we were trying to change a complete, climate and culture of our school and our response to the misbehavior.
When we first started, we started PSDI before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been able to work through it during COVID, and you know how it is. Now it's after COVID. So it was like we've had to pick up and fine tune things. But I think through all that, now we're like able to select what really works best for us, our staff and students.
It's also kind of old school thinking. I like it that my president said that, because I think the goal is always to be the best version of yourself. That is always the goal. And so, but we've got to do that in a new and fresh kind of way. And so I think in part doing that is training those staff who are younger, who are coming in to this new way of thinking, for sure. And PSDI does an excellent job of, we've had many of our staff people go through this training, and they love it so much. And already I can see the improvement in the engagement with the staff. There is this subjective view that gives leverage to the adults to be able to suspend kids, which is it's unfair. It's really unfair. And I also, PSDI and CPLI together, I think both of those programs also really highlight the importance of schools partnering with outside agencies to come in and assist in health.
I feel like we've kind of grown up together, and it's something that I have carried with me, for almost a decade in my work in schools. It aligns really deeply with my beliefs and values in that, all students are good and everyone wants to be successful. And how do we just set people up for success with skills and wraparound supports? In the same way that, if a student can't do math, we teach them math. If a student is struggling with their behavior, we need to teach them the skills that they're missing. So that still rings true for me. I think I had a much more concrete toolkit than maybe I did 10 years ago approaching this work. And I have seen, again, how you weave together all the pieces as a system. We often have, one or two teachers that are taking on this approach, or a dean or a school leader that's really passionate about it. But for it to really stick and to change a community, it has to be all the people working together. So I think my understanding of how to do the work is really grounded in bringing everybody along with you, right? Sharing opportunities for people to weigh in on how discipline should look at their school. And that means teachers, but also kids and parents. And doing a lot of training so that we understand the why behind some of the practices we're using. We understand how the brain works. We understand what trauma does to your brain. And we understand that sometimes the actions that we see are not people trying to be rude or disrespectful to each other, but people just struggling to regulate themselves. I think those are all learnings that have come out of PSDI. Now that I'm advising schools on how to transform their culture and their academic outcomes, this is a tool that I recommend that they look into, because again, it will give them this well-rounded systemic approach to shifting their culture with really concrete tools that all of their different stakeholders can use right away.
Even PSDI kind of allowed us to start looking at being intentional as to what data we're looking at, and how we're responding to that data. And the student of concern sheet kind of led that for us. And now it's transformed into everything is on our MTSS team. So we use MTSS as our model. However, the student of concern really kind of started that process. We have a team that is tracking all of those things, even as it pertains to our special needs students. Every week they're meeting and they're discussing those things. How many discipline referrals or how many reset passes has Johnny had this week? So they're looking at that and looking at what those interventions are and checking in on those interventions. And I think that's been huge for us, because at one point we were just looking only at discipline, but now we're looking at it as a whole picture. And that has made some critical changes for us as how we're responding. Things like the reset pass, things like the teachers being trained on restorative practices, right? So now teachers are not saying, I want Johnny, Ms. Dimon, I want Johnny to be gone for 3 days. I need to have a restorative conversation with Johnny. Ms. Dubois just reminded me about a situation that we were dealing with yesterday. And if it would have been the Denman of 4 or 5 years ago, pre-PSDI, the student would definitely have been out of school. However, he's here today. We're having those conversations. We've had that conversation. We've done that restorative conversation. Does he still have consequences? Yes. And are we holding him accountable? Yes. He was just asking, could he get out of the ISS room? But no, because you still have to, we're still holding them accountable. It's just, it looks differently. And that's what has been the climate and culture here.
Just in me as a mom, thinking about the school to prison pipeline and how things have changed from my time way back then to now, I see a lot more suspensions happening. And I don't see a whole lot of interventions or opportunities to improve circumstances so that we can reduce that school to prison pipeline, especially with our Black and brown kids. And so I think PSDI is on to something. I think they are trying to make their way across Indiana and offer these kind of opportunities to be able to present environments and climates where kids can thrive